Hey guys, I'm Tyler and today we are going to make this awesome sign for our home out of some seriously old barnwood, angle iron bolts, and some awesome wood burning. This video is sponsored by sawblade.com. Visit their website for a full line of woodworking and metalworking blades and machinery. Apologize for the light, but I wanted to take you guys out and show you these pieces of barnwood that were in the barn when we bought this house, and that's why this is more than just your typical welcome sign that I bought some wood and made this out of. This is our first house, so it has a little bit of sentimental value to it. So we're going to take these pieces of barnwood. There's another one that I already have up in the garage. It's a little bit flatter, so it will be easier to work with, and we're going to turn this in to an awesome welcome sign to take with us for all of our future houses to come. Now there's quite a bit of warp in these boards, so I think I'm actually going to need to use both boards to get the piece that I need out of that. This is only 11 inches wide, need 15. So I'm going to try to get two pieces, then we'll take it down to the shop and try to cut the bow out of it and go from there. This is the same blade on this saw, no change for the metal. The boards were still pretty warped, so once I had them broken down to rough size, I took them down into the shop and broke them down further using the bandsaw so I didn't remove too much wood to make them flatter. This does not need to be perfectly flat. I would like it to be quite flat, but I don't want to take any of the character out of the top of the single board once I get this glued together. So I think I'm going to glue it together and reference off the top to try to get it as flat as I can, and then I can try to flatten out the bottom a little bit after, because I do need to glue this down to another section of plywood basically to give me enough depth for the angle iron that I got. Once I had made my board selection in a way that the total board was flat enough, I glued it together with simple wood glue and some clamps. And then I need to make a backer board to put behind this, and I'm going to assemble it all with adhesive so I can fill in that gap. So it was just a matter of the table saw sled to square everything up. I used my angle grinder with an abrasive disc from Gator Grit to soften the edges of the metal pieces so that they wouldn't scratch or cut you. My choice to fasten the strips of metal to the wood is going to be with these 1/4 inch carriage bolts. So I laid them out properly and evenly on the strips and then used the drill press to put through holes so that the carriage bolts would slide through and seat all the way against the metal. As I mentioned before, I didn't want to lose any character of the wood, but it was really dirty, so I used a basically Scotch-Brite wheel on the angle grinder to clean it up. My choice for fastening the barnwood to the backer board and the strips of metal to the wood is going to be polyurethane construction adhesive. My reasoning behind this is it fills gaps extremely well, so I can actually use that to level the board out and make sure that there's an even gap around everything for the metal. Now that everything is laid out, I mark and drill holes to accept the carriage bolts. These aren't tight, they aren't threaded. It's going to be the construction adhesive between the bolt in the wood that is making the adhesion and the contact holding the metal strips in place. I understand that not everyone has a CNC machine in their shop, but I do, so that is going to be the method that I use to cut out the stencil to allow me to wood burn this sign. If you don't have a CNC, all you need is a little bit of time with a jigsaw and a small blade. If you have a scroll saw, that is also an excellent method to cutting these out, and possibly even better, if you have a friend with a CNC, ask them to cut it out for you. After making sure the stencil was in the proper location, I taped it in place using some blue painter's tape, and then I added the inside of the letters using small little bits of tape so that we would have nice defined letters when we do the wood burning. I wasn't super sure if this process would work out. In hindsight, obviously it worked out excellent. The small letters were a little bit tricky. If I was to do it again, I would probably simply make those letters a little bit bigger to make them easier to burn. The only point I would like to bring up is obviously pay attention, because you are going to catch the stencil on fire a little bit and it does get hot. But it actually worked way better than I thought. Like I mentioned before, to add the metal strips, I use construction adhesive in the holes for the bolts, not actually under the metal itself. I did notice that the bolts seemed to pop out of the holes a little bit as it was drying, but a couple taps with a hammer or just pushing them in as the glue is drying worked out great. And I sealed the whole sign with a couple coats of rattle can lacquer. I did leave the rusty look on the metal itself, but just made sure there was no flaky bits of rust, and then again, just sealed it over with a couple coats of lacquer. Well, there you go, guys. A very rustic sign. It was meant to look rustic, and I think it looks pretty rustic. The wife likes it. Yeah?
Yes, the wife likes it.
The wife likes it, so it's a win-win. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is something old for something new. If you're watching this video when it's released in the first couple weeks, the DIYTyler family and shop have moved. So this is actually a new house, and this Barnwood was in our original house, which is the first house we bought when we bought that house. So something old for the new house that we'll take with us from time to come. And if you're watching, be sure to subscribe, because the new DIYTyler shop is going up right now. And there'll be a couple videos on that showing the setup and how I am laying out the new shop. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hammer that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button right over there so you never miss when I upload a new video. I'm DIYTyler. You guys have a good one.